You dreamed of seeing Brexit happen. It was delivered. But do you think the idea of Brexit is in peril if Boris goes?
Well, without wishing to be pedantic and difficult, Mark, actually Boris hasn't delivered Brexit. At a very basic level, Brexit was the country leaving the European Union as one united kingdom. And you mentioned yourself in your opener that actually we've left Northern Ireland to a significant extent behind in the European Union. We have a border down the Irish Sea. We've done something that no country has done in modern history, which is to partition itself, at least from a trade perspective, but also from a political perspective, right down the middle without a single shot being fired. Northern Ireland remains subject to swathes of EU law and subject to the European Court of Justice. We have not Brexited. So when people talk about Boris Johnson having got Brexit done, actually, it's a misrepresentation. And when they fear that our removal of Boris, if that's what the fear is, might give way to Brexit being reversed, they're wrong. He hasn't delivered it. Boris Johnson, for all his rhetoric, is actually not what any true Brexiteer would recognise as a Brexiteer.
However, Ben, might a replacement be a closet Remainer who will sell out to the EU, possibly by not challenging that damaging Northern Ireland protocol?
Well, Boris isn't challenging it. For a year and a half now, Boris Johnson has been saying that he's going to make sure that that border down the Irish Sea isn't a problem. Since the G7 in June last year, he said he will not hesitate to invoke Article 16, which I'm sure by now viewers know is a mechanism within the protocol which allows the United Kingdom to suspend part or all of it, depending on the impact it's having. And he hasn't got the political conviction or will to actually deliver a Brexit. Boris Johnson is not the Brexiteer he has promoted himself to be. And like so many things in the Conservative Party manifesto, he's actually observed his Brexit promises in the breach. So I don't see Boris Johnson going as a big problem for Brexit. I think people like me who believe in Brexit, who believe in an independent United Kingdom, making its own laws across the entire British Isles and having the ability to deregulate, lower taxes and make policies for the benefit of the United Kingdom. He is not that Brexiteer. And his leaving will not be a threat, therefore, to people like us. We are going to have to go on fighting to deliver our Brexit.
So, Ben Habib, you're flipping this argument on its head. You're arguing get rid of Boris, potentially have a better Brexit.
Absolutely. Boris Johnson, when people say Boris Johnson is in contempt of Parliament because he's misrepresented the position of the various parties he's had in number 10, actually, he's in much more significant contempt of Parliament. Every time he gets up and he talks about the fact that he's got Brexit done, he is in contempt of Parliament. It's actually a contempt he's showing for the British people because he made a solemn manifesto promise that the country would leave the European Union as one united kingdom. And he has fundamentally failed in that principle. There's a lot more, by the way, Mark, that's wrong with his Brexit deals. But that in itself is a fundamental flaw, which he has not put right, which he doesn't have the political will to put right, and I predict will not put right. He will not do it.
Professor Anand Menon, a privilege and a delight to have you on the show, Director of UK in a Changing Europe. What's your view about the implications of our relationship with the EU in the absence of Boris Johnson?
Well, to be honest, I mean, the basic thing is Brexit won't be under challenge whether Boris Johnson stays or goes. We're out, and that's the new normal. As Ben was hinting, the sort of Brexit we've got might change if we change Prime Minister. It might be that a Liz Truss in number 10 might be more deregulatory, might be more in favour of tearing up regulations than some of her possible opponents. What I don't buy is that any conceivable occupant of number 10 is simply going to turn around and tear up the Northern Ireland Protocol simply because, A, it's an agreement we entered into willingly, and within that agreement it was perfectly clear that there would be a border, not too invisible actually for many traders across that border, across the Irish Sea, but B, if we do so, the danger we face is one of escalating disputes with the European Union at a time when we're facing rising inflation, a cost of living crisis. A trade war is probably not the best thing for the British economy at the moment.
So do you think, Professor, that if Boris Johnson were to stay, he would resolve some of these issues?
I don't think anything's going to get resolved in the near future, partly because we've got elections coming up in Northern Ireland in May, partly because, frankly, the Prime Minister is too politically weak to impose a solution. So I think this is going to drag and drag. And remember, even if he resorts to this famous Article 16, ultimately, Article 16 means another couple of years of negotiation, of mediation, of arbitration. Nothing is going to happen quickly here. Both sides want a settlement. They just can't agree on what it is. And I think from the British point of view, dragging this out whilst making clear we're unhappy with it is a political strategy they seem to have settled upon.